Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing great and staying safe. Today we're going to focus on our mind and in continuation of our previous video on fear and anxiety. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch that. We're going to focus on depression today. I would like to make a difference between what is normal sadness and what is depression. Well, the first difference between the two is duration or timing. So the duration for sadness or feeling low or feeling a little bit blue mood is basically very short, and it is momentarily here and there. It happens and you can continue with your life. Overall, you are still working from home and you're still getting along with your family, mostly maybe, and your social life is still happening. So this would be an example of that. This is very normal to feel sad during these times. It's also very normal to feel a little bit low and down. However, depression on the other hand would be something of at least process of 2 weeks, and then from 2 weeks onward it can last up to 3 months or 6 months. It varies from person to person, but at least one way we know that somebody is struggling with depression, that they've been feeling sad almost every day, and for most of the day, and that they have lost interest in activities that they used to do. For example, they liked cooking, but now they no longer do that. That's just an example. They no longer do that, so they lost their interest in pleasurable activities. They gained suddenly a lot of weight, or they've lost a lot of weight. They also have problems sleep. Either they're sleeping too much, or they're sleeping too less, or they're waking multiple times, or they wake up too early at 4 a.m. and they have a wide awake and they cannot go back to sleep. They feel hopeless about future. They feel helpless about not being able to change their circumstances. They feel that their concentration is getting lower. They are forgetful, not just a normal forgetful, because I forget a lot of things, but a lot towards implicit memory, things that they would be misplacing. A lot of the time they have a hard time remembering. So that would be another indication. So you have to have at least 4 or 5 of many symptoms, including the ones that I shared with you, to actually be diagnosed with major depression. What are some ways that you can help to prevent, or maybe even if you don't have the clinical depression, but you are dealing with the low mood and everyday sadness? What are some ways to deal with it? So it is again similar to the previous video that I emphasize diet a lot of the time. Why do I emphasize diet? Because what you put in your brain, that gives you the output of how your brain would be performing. In other words, what you put in your mouth would go 30% of that, almost 30% would go to your brain, and therefore your brain would be performing based on what you sent in that almost approximately 30% nutrition that you're sending. So that's why it's so important to focus on your diet, to make sure that you're staying away from things that are not helping you. In this case, maybe refined sugar, or I don't know, junk food, or some other food that's not healthy. So focusing more on food that is very good for the brain, such as, for example, omega-3, that is often found in maybe all types. I don't know, you guys Google it, find for yourself. But in many fish. I think in English you cannot say fishes. I could be wrong. But anyways. All right. So that would be one way to deal with it, diet. The second one is physical activity. Again, I mentioned this before. Physical activity would be very, very important for you to have that boost of chemicals in your brain. Again, it's very challenging for some of us to go outside when there are so many people are out for a walk because of our social distancing rule. So maybe for you, it would be helpful to know when is the time that there aren't so many people outside when you want to go for a walk, or you can focus on doing something in your home. There are so many good YouTube videos. People teach you how to do yoga at home, or Pilates, or some of those stretches. They're not only helpful for your body and mind, but at the same time, it gives you a feeling of accomplishment. You did something. So just because, during these times, maybe, some of you are having a lot of TV time, so maybe kind of switching it to YouTube and following those, fitness gurus there. So that is about physical fitness, about physical activity. Now, number 3 would be to work on your behavior. Now, what do I mean by behavior? Well, anything that is based on action. So you act more during these times rather than having it more in this area. So if you're planning to watch a very funny movie, you just do it. You don't go into the debate zone of, do I want to, do I not want to? Let me kind of, lay down here. So something like that would be getting in the way of action. So do more of action during these times. What's another example of action? Well, cooking, when I mentioned that. Even though you don't feel like doing it, push yourself. Go ahead and do the cooking as a way to express yourself. Maybe it's art, maybe it's creativity for you, or it's just to feed yourself and have a healthy food. So whatever it is, go and push yourself to do that. In a given day, I would be encouraging you to increase the number of actions, as many as you can. This gives you an opportunity to not only get some of your tasks done, but also it helps you to feel good about yourself, that things are not piling up on you, and that actually increases your depressed mood or feeling low when things are getting piled up. However, I don't want to to encourage you to overwork yourself, because definitely that's not what I mean by that. I would encourage you to have at least 3-4 tasks per day that you're planning to do, but because you're feeling so low and so exhausted, you are not doing that. So I would be encouraging you to actually focus maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of them, and then it's okay if you couldn't do number 4. So that's what I mean by action. Okay, so I want to be very clear, because I know some mothers who are overperforming during these times, and maybe they are doing it because they have to, there's no any other choice, but I don't want to add more tasks on their list. Okay, all right. Now, another way to kind of help yourself during these times is, again, that that video that I made about self-talk, go ahead and watch that if you haven't, is that talk to yourself about what is something that you're proud of yourself. Maybe you dusted this Buddha statue here, or I don't know, it's called, I think, statue in English. So maybe you dusted that one, and there was so much dust all over it, and you hadn't done it in the past. So that's, again, going back to that concept of feeling accomplished. But that feeling accomplished combined with the self-talk helps you a lot. I'm proud of myself that even though I'm feeling so low and so sad right now, I did the laundry and I got that out of my way. Okay. Some other ways to deal with it is something we have in DBT, which is called opposite action. By the way, DBT is dialectical behavior therapy. It's called opposite action. So opposite action is when you're feeling something, but you do the opposite of what you're feeling. You're feeling low, so basically feeling low and sad tells you do nothing, just stay here. So you go and do the opposite, which is, again, going back to that action oriented. So watch your mood, what you're feeling, and try to do something that is constructive and productive in some ways for you as an opposite action. Get more sleep as much as you can during these times. Try to have a good routine for your sleep. Now, your circadian rhythm, if it's all over the place, then these, some things that I mentioned, like substance and sugary food and some of those, as an example, they are actually maintaining depression. So they help depression to keep going when it's happening in your life. So one way you can minimize is to take control of all these, areas such as diet, physical activity, and let's say sleep. So try to have a really good regular sleep pattern or routine for your bed before you go to bed. Maybe you like to read some book or listen to some, audiobook. There are plenty out there, so many of them on YouTube. So maybe you want to listen to them and kind of create the mood for yourself to go to sleep. And maybe you usually make it around maybe 9 and 10 and not to stay till 2 a.m. and the next day, the 3 a.m. part. Okay? All right. Now, that's the overall example of how you can minimize some of your symptoms and what you're going through. However, there are times that it is not, it's not something that you can do on your own. So you need a professional's help. So on that, in that kind of situation, what I would like you to do is to actually reach out. Either if it's social support you need, actually go and talk to someone who understands you and listens to you. Yeah, I seem to be having a struggle with talking today, but I hope you guys are getting my point. That you know someone who can understand you, who can listen to you patiently, and not to be giving you a type of advice, and not any advice, but the type of advice that focuses on how you can snap out of it, or this is no big deal, there are more problems in the world kind of approach. Okay? But in the meantime, please know that if it is a clinical depression case, then there is requirement, or there is that treatment there is that treatment needed for your overall health, and that treatment is psychotherapy and medication, or medication in some cases. So they both are good method of treatment. There are many therapists right now who are doing both video calling and phone phone counseling, and at the same time there are your family doctors would be able to prescribe you some medication if in case you're falling into the category of clinical depression. All right, guys, that is pretty much it. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know right down below. And if you also have any ideas about future videos, let me know. So the only way I would know that is what you want, so that I can make more of these type of videos. So far, what I've been doing is that I also work with my clients during the week. Then I see some of the themes are emerging. Then that makes me that helps me to have an idea in my head that what you guys need, and then I make these videos. But it would be very helpful if I know what you guys want me to talk about in our next videos. That's it. Take good care of yourself, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.